Hello, all my movie-loving maniacs. I am back, and hopefully a whole lot better than ever. But yes, I am back. I know I was gone for a little bit, but you can still see my videos on Instagram, which I will leave a link in the description right there. But I was gone, I left in the middle of the summer, mainly because, let's just say, some things happened, roommates moving out and finding a new roommate, and then, me pretty much turning this house into Lassiter Factor headquarters, like what I did with this one right here, as you might see as I pull up some clips right here. But yes, I have a new studio. Well, I guess you can call it a studio. I have a new studio with a new background for these new videos, and with the new job that I have, and just a little bit more free time, I'm able to come up with some new videos. And I just decided to, so yes, there won't be no more top 5 or top 5 news or anything. I decided, you know what, sometimes I just like talking about things pertaining to movies. So I figured, why not at least once a month, maybe more than a month, just whenever I feel like it, I'm gonna release a video about a topic that I really want to talk about, and sometimes talk about with other people. We may see in the future, who knows. But for this first video on my new set, I want to talk about Spider-Man real quick. Because Spider-Man No Way Home is getting ready to come out and around the corner, hopefully by the time I release this video. But I am super excited for this movie. I am telling you, the moment I see Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man for the first time, I might weep. I am super excited for this movie. I need it now. And so for this first video on my new set, I wanted to talk about something pertaining to Spider-Man. So I just figured, you know what, why don't I just talk about my life experience with Spider-Man and what he means to me, and just my overall experience with Spider-Man throughout all various media, whether it's through shows, cartoons, movies, video games, you name it. So, like many people my age, my first exposure to Spider-Man was probably that 90s cartoon that used to play on Fox Kids. I remember watching that show, and I was just, who didn't love Spider-Man? And I just fell in love with that show. And then, of course, I like Spider-Man. I had some of the toys, and my dad, who also was a huge Spider-Man fan back when he was a young lad, he also liked comics, and more specifically, he liked Spider-Man. And he recognized I liked Spider-Man. That one Christmas, he actually bought me a Spider-Man comic book. It's a little messed up, and it's a little taped up. And, it's not in the best shape that it should be. But hey, I have it. As well as this Ultimate Marvel Spider-Man issue 1, Powerless. But in fact, this one right here, later on in life, I got so interested in seeing this comic in context with all the other issues pertaining to it, so that later on in life, I actually went online and bought the Spider-Man Chapter 1, which is pretty much Batman Year 1, but for Spider-Man. And now, I haven't gotten a chance to finish reading it yet, but this is a good read right here for your comics. But so as a kid, I was well versed in the Spider-Man, whether it's through the cartoon or the comics and some of the toys. But of course, it wasn't until 2002, my fondest memories of my dad, God rest his soul, was when he took me to a midnight premiere of that first Spider-Man, directed by Sam Raimi and starring Tobey Maguire. I was just in awe. I was mesmerized by that movie when I saw it in the theater, and how they bought something that I mainly saw in a cartoon and on the comics being translated to screen. Because at the time, Marvel, they didn't have the best track record. They didn't have the best track record when it comes to adapting their comics for the big screen. Now, of course, a couple years prior to Spider-Man coming out, we had Blade, which lit the fire in 1998, and then X-Men. Then it really solidified itself was in 2002 when Spider-Man came out. And of course, that movie has also been a little personal to me because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But more specifically, it's my favorite movie of all time because prior to Spider-Man, I've always loved movies. I love watching movies, but I didn't get into filmmaking and what it takes to make a movie until Spider-Man. And I saw that in theater, and then Christmas of that year, it was the first DVD player we ever got, and so one of the 3 DVDs I asked for that Christmas was Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones, the live-action Scooby-Doo. Taskmaster fell. But yeah, the first 3 DVDs I ever got was Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones, that live-action Scooby-Doo, and Spider-Man on DVD. I remember I watched that movie on DVD for the first time, and I watched all the special features and just looking at all the behind the scenes stuff, and then I learned all this extra stuff about Spider-Man that even I didn't know at that point. Like, it was the first movie where it struck me like, oh, there's a director, a writer, a producer, a director of photography, an actor. And then of course after that first Spider-Man movie came out, Spider-Man had a resurgence in pop culture, whether it's through more cartoons like Spider-Man Unlimited, The Spectacular Spider-Man, even in Spider-Man comics, and that's where the Ultimate Spider-Man came in through. Now, Spider-Man, he always had a presence in video games, like in the earlier Sega Genesis games, and he did a crossover with the X-Men cartoon. But of course, I have that original Spider-Man for the PlayStation. And then, of course, at the time Spider-Man came out, the Xbox was out, and I had an Xbox, and so I played all 3 Spider-Man the movie games on the Xbox, and I think Xbox 360, I believe. Spider-Man 2 probably being one of the best open-world Spider-Man games before Spider-Man for the PS4 came out. And I had the Ultimate Spider-Man video game. Then next up was Spider-Man 2, which is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, where they took the story of Peter Parker and dug even deeper further, where they adapted the comic where he loses his powers for a little bit because he's getting overwhelmed by his regular life and being Spider-Man. And that's what I loved about that movie. Like, the movies themselves, like, they deserve their own separate videos. I won't go too deep into it, but I love the Spider-Man performances from Tobey Maguire, William Dafoe, Kirsten Dunst, James Rosemary Harris as Aunt May, which is probably my favorite Aunt May, and I love all the speeches she gives to Peter Parker. The actor's name is not coming to me right now, but the actor that played Uncle Ben, to me, is the definitive version of Uncle Ben. But then, of course, the one actor, it's not just Spider-Man, but superhero movies in general, that is just irreplaceable as the character they play, and that is J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons. And then, of course, you have some of the other actors in this particular series, like Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, Hayden Church as Sandman, Topher Grace as Venom. Yep. Okay, so yeah, Spider-Man 3 did come out, which I do like, but I also recognize that, which I do like, but I also recognize that it does not have its good moments, particularly the scene dancing emo spider. I remember seeing that in the theater, and the whole theater just erupted in laughter, and me and all my friends were just sitting there like, this shit is funny to you? But no worries, because Spider-Man 3 was still good in my eyes and left me hopeful for what Spider-Man 4. But Spider-Man 4 never happened, and so Sony was trying to reboot Spider-Man, which I was a little disappointed by, because the Tobey Maguire movies, those are my Spider-Man movies. I love those movies to death, even Spider-Man 3. So the thought of a new Spider-Man I was just, okay, look, I'll show out anyway because it's Spider-Man, but you ain't Toby. And around that time, people was also campaigning for Donald Glover to be Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man could be black, which I was more than down for. But eventually Donald Glover, he aged out of the role, but he did manage to make it into another role, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I just remember the Donald for Spider-Man campaign, and it blew up that we even got Miles Morales. And the fact that Marvel even gave us a black/Hispanic Spider-Man was just great to me. To me, he just represents that Spider-Man was just a regular nerdy kid from Queens, and that he could literally be anybody. And that's one thing I gravitated towards about Spider-Man. So enter the Andrew Garfield era. So his first movie, I liked it for what they were trying to do. They were trying to make a more grounded and realistic Spider-Man, but not that dark and gritty. You also got to think, what was considered nerd 10 years prior to the Amazing Spider-Man isn't considered nerd now. And so I did like the fact that they were trying to have a modern take on Peter Parker as like this skater nerd or whatever, but he was still smart. That being said, to me, he's too good looking to be Peter Parker, and just not my Peter Parker, but I thought he was good as Spider-Man. I even like that movie for them tackling the Lizard, which was teased in the Tobey Maguire movies, but never got around to. So it was great to see that finally come to fruition. Yeah, but I'm not really a big fan of how they handled Ben Parker and how they just dropped that halfway through the movie. Obviously, that first Amazing Spider-Man movie, it has its shortcomings, but it also has its good highs as well. So just like the Amazing Spider-Man, it has its shortcomings, but unlike the Amazing Spider-Man, it has very few highs. Like, one of the highs is the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, who plays Spider-Man / Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy, Now, of course, it might have helped because they were actually dating at the time, but it still worked on camera, nonetheless. I like the stuff between Peter and Aunt May in that movie. I thought Sally Field, she was a pretty solid Aunt May for what they were trying to do with that character in that movie. In those movies, I should say. But everything else in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was just Sony trying so hard to catch up with Marvel with a million villains. Like, bro, did you learn nothing from Spider-Man 3? Putting too many villains, it just makes the film a little clunky. I don't like Jamie Foxx as Max, but he was okay as Electro. I kind of like what they were trying to do with Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin, but it was a misfire. And even all the stuff with Gwen Stacy at the end where she dies, I thought they put it all quite well, in my opinion. But to me, this movie is a bit of a dud because, one, they didn't finish off this series, so it's just left like there. And at that point, audiences everywhere was like, Marvel, please come get your son, please. And so Marvel marched in there and Sony, alright, look, how about we go half and half with Spider-Man? We borrow him and you still reap the benefits. And they did, and now Spider-Man is in the MCU. The first time we saw him was in Captain America Civil War, which is my favorite MCU movie of all time. And just watching Spider-Man interact with Captain America, Iron Man, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Vision, all these other heroes. Like, I remember I damn near shed a tear of joy when I saw that and did it because I thought I would never see Spider-Man with all these other characters. And then, of course, by the end of that movie, we was all like, okay, Spider-Man, you have earned your solo film, and got his solo film and did it. Spider-Man Homecoming, I like the movie, but okay, so here's how it is. Alright, so, like I said before, Tobey Maguire, his movies, those are my Spider-Man movies. I hold those near and dear to my heart. That being said, I felt like Tobey Maguire, he played the best Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield, he played the best Spider-Man. But I feel Tom Holland, he was best at both. And I feel that version of Spider-Man, he is best when he's interacting in other people's movies, like Avengers, Captain America. But when it comes to his own movies, they just feel like MCU movies. It feels like we can't have a Spider-Man movie in the MCU without relying on a character from one of the other movies, like Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Nick Fury. Like, I just want to see an MCU Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man stands on his own. Now, I don't know what No Way Home might be like, but that might change my tune, but who knows. But yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming, I like the movie, but I feel like it doesn't deserve the pedestal that everybody puts it on. It's Spider-Man Far From Home, I actually like a little tad more than Spider-Man Homecoming. Only because I like to see Spider-Man out of his element, which majority of the time you see Spider-Man in New York, but now he's across the world. And all the stuff with Mysterio was great. And then Spider-Man Homecoming, I love Vulture. Michael Keaton, he is a god. And back to Donald Glover, he makes an appearance as supposedly Miles Morales' uncle. Now, in between these Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he appeared in the Avengers film. We all know in Avengers Infinity War, that infamous, I don't feel so good. And then in Endgame, he returned, and he was, Endgame. And then, of course, in between movies, Sony, they was trying to make their own little Spider-Verse movies. One to some mixed results, and the other one to... Okay, so we got Venom, a solo Venom movie without Spider-Man. I enjoyed it for what it is, but I don't know. That movie's just a little off to me. Like, I feel like we could have gotten a better movie than what we got. And then we got Into the Spider-Verse, where the movie introduced Miles Morales and all the other Spider-Man. And what I love about that movie, I will say this about Spider-Man Homecoming. I thought that was the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. But then Into the Spider-Verse came out, and that's when I said, no, this is the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. And what I love about that particular movie is it just reinforces what I love about Spider-Man, and what I was talking about earlier is that Spider-Man, he could be anybody. Spider-Man, at the end of the day, is just a regular person like you. And so Miles Morales, we all know how that movie turned out. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and I can't wait to see Spider-Man across the universe. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I actually like a lot more than the first Venom. I like Woody Harrelson as Carnage. I thought all the Eddie Brock and Venom stuff was pretty cool. Andy Serkis, he did his thing. If you see just go watch my review of that movie and you'll know how I feel about that movie. And Spider-Man made a resurgence in video games as well within Spider-Man PS5, which I've played, and then Spider-Man Miles Morales, which again I've also played. I've had tremendous fun times and spent endless hours playing those games. I love them. Another Spider-Verse movie coming out is Morbius, which was supposed to come out last year, but because of this fucking pandemic, it got pushed back over and over again, and now it's coming in about a month, in January. I can't wait to finally see Jared Leto get his redemption at playing a comic book character. And now that leaves us with Spider-Man No Way Home. Man, I can't wait for that movie, because it's pretty much a Spider-Verse movie, but we get to, like I said, they're saying that we might see Toby and Andrew. They're saying not, but it's like, I just can't wait to see that movie. And then seeing Alfred Molina as Doc Ock again, that brings joy to my heart. Green Goblin, just seeing all these villains from other Spider-Man movies, I just can't wait to see it. Oh yeah, some other comic books I have was this, and then Spider-Girl, and then it's also where we have Silver Sable, another movie that's about to come. So. And then, of course, I own like every Spider-Man movie on Blu-ray. Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the two Amazing Spider-Mans, Tom Holland Spider-Mans, Homecoming and Far From Home, and Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse, and Venom, which came with this little figurine right here. So, yeah. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to see Spider-Man No Way Home. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Tell me about your Spider-Man experience in the comment section below. I'm your host, Bradford Lassiter. This is Lassiter Factor. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Peace.